1988 and 2007 were the previous ones. Now, it's very disconcerting. It's very almost annoying. It's almost like they just don't quite get it. There's a war going on outside no man is safe from. There's a war in Ukraine. There's a conflict in Sudan. Why aren't they marching for that? Why are they so selfish and self-interested about their own pay that they are overlooking the woes and the tribulations of people from around the world? Where is their altruism? Where is their selflessness? Where is their unselfishness? Where is all of that? Where does that come into play? Why don't they have the same kind of drive for showing up for other people as they have for themselves? These are mostly leftist people who have the political backing of Democrats and things of that nature. That's mostly what is comprised of these riders. And they're striking in order to get more money. And they're already part of the upper class and the upper middle classes. They don't have the idea that they can help somebody else's life, which they shouldn't, in the sense that I'm speaking of from the School of Ayn Rand objectivism. I'm just asking the question, why are they struggling? Why aren't the studio executives struggling? Without the studio executives, there would be no movies. There would be no TV shows. In this age of streaming, it's very difficult to try to get the bang for your buck. Writers have always struggled to get recognition and pay, to get credits on certain projects. They have been able to have the guild, the WGA, or the Writers Guild of America, especially the West, even though there's also a WGA East. But the West is where it's happening. It's happening in California, where Hollywood is. So in that regard, they have, carte blanche. They have almost unlimited resources and support from various people, from Jay Leno to Olivia Wilde, and people that are actually demonstrating with them, like Natasha Lyonne. So what is it about them? What makes them so special? Because you can type up a script? Because you can write something? This is the era of doing it for yourself. Why aren't you even outside the guild? Why aren't you on YouTube? This is where it's at. Making movies with your camera. Charlie Kaufman, the screenwriter, Charlie Kaufman had a pouty kind of way of expressing himself during an award show where he was awarded one of the highest honors from, I think it was the WGA. If I'm not mistaken, please correct me. But he was saying how, the gatekeepers or the executives, they wouldn't have anything without, the writers or the directors or the actors, the artists, mainly, and not the business people. That's completely false. It's the opposite completely. It's a total reversal. Without the executives, you don't have writers, directors, actors, even producers. And they don't go on strike. Producers and actors hardly ever go on strike because they get paid the most. The writers are like the nurses of the Hollywood. They'll strike. They're like the public school teacher or the government school teachers of Hollywood. I've mentioned this before that, what really makes people sink their teeth into a project is the fact that they wanted to be a part of a project because of its writing, because of the way that the words are flowing on the paper or on the screen. That was the main draw for a lot of actors and actresses to be part of these various vehicles. but they're worried about themselves. They care about that dollar like anybody else. That's when it comes interesting. It comes very interesting because, like I said, they should be fighting for rights in Darfur and Sudan, and for the Ukrainian crisis, the Ukraine war. And there's so many other issues that are going on in the world. Why are they even worried about it? Salute to you, Houston. Good morning, sir. Good afternoon. Yeah, it's still morning where you are. It's good morning. I have to give credit to so many people that have come up to me, and Houston is definitely one of the best field generals, and I appreciate his legacy and his rapping, riding around with a gun on me. I think that's how it goes. Correct me if I'm wrong. And it's like they're so self-centered. They're not quote unquote selfish, or they are quote unquote selfish. They're not actually selfish. Selfishness means that you take care of yourself and your own values. That's it. I mean, there's a longer definition, but just to curtail it and keep it somewhat together. There's a level of trying to take in a point of saying you're going to help people, you're going to aid the sick and the needy, and what about the homeless, and what about this cause, and what about the cats and dogs, and what about all this, and they're up here saying we want more money. We deserve it, and they do. I'm not denying that. I'm not trying to detract from there. They put in the work. They do great efforts for the most part, but that's not the point. The point is that they want to project a sign of being altruistic, which is an evil, and being selfish in their own right. They're acting like they have the power to state that they are almost better than everyone else because they can be a part of a guild which grants them money, depending on how much of the salary. It may not be as much, but it's still legitimate. And within the streaming era, there's a different pay model. Prior to streaming, it used to be based on DVD sales and syndication. Now it's based on a residual platform. That's how they get paid. They get paid off of whatever coins are left in, after the production budgets are over. So they, instead of saying that, oh, I'm for Ukraine, and oh, let's band together for Sudan and Darfur. No, I want more money. That's where we are. And like I said, I'm on YouTube right now. This cost me virtually no money. I'm thinking about what Charlie Kaufman said, and I think he was a catalyst for this strike. He might have sparked in the minds of the other writers to be more aggressive and be more assertive in their powers, to show that other people are ready and willing to be on the front lines for that dollar, for that money. Because that's what it all comes down to. Everything I've said has to do with money. The Sudan conflict, the Ukraine war, and the writer's strike all have to do with the dollar sign, all have to do with money. You can't fight a war without money. You can't have internal fighting without money. And the writers want to have as much money as they possibly can for their efforts. That's the objective way to viewpoint it, to view it. If you have so many people, like I said, 11.5 thousand people, in that are part of this strike, and they're not bigging up, immigrants and immigration into this country, as Houston has just pointed out to me. They are the ones that should have, some kind of striking invitation. It's comes like it's almost like out of a page from Atlas Shrugged, Ayn Rand's probably most famous novel. People going on strike. But it's she what she did, she put all the producers on strike, all the super producers, because writers are producers in their own right. I don't mean that in the definition of Hollywood producers. I mean somebody that can make something, create something, build something. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the ways that people have given of themselves to make themselves better. That's not a sacrifice. That's a boost. That's a boon. That's an advancement. In this whole area, this is what it comes down to. This is what it comes down to. It says that strikers are really just trying to get a few pennies. But if it were up to the producers to go on strike, they would be saying how they are the motors of the world and the motors of the Hollywood and the media realm, and they are the what would happen if they cut ties, if they went on strike. There would be no movies, there would be no TV shows. We can have TV shows and movies right now, streaming. I can go on right now. Hulu, Disney Plus, Prime Video, Apple, and so many others. And just a few clicks of the button, a few taps of the button, or use my voice. That's what it's like. That's where we are right now. That's what we must have considered. That's what we must take into consideration. The fact that people who would normally be on the side of, justice for George Floyd, or justice for Breonna Taylor, or justice for, Tamir Rice, and justice for this person, and justice for that person. It goes on and on and on. But we got to get paid. I can't even get it. I can't even get into my Aston Martin and fill it up because of the fact that I'm on strike now because of the writer strike. That's where we are. For some writers, it depends. There's levels and layers. Some writers can only afford a Kia, and they're living their dream, because it's not about the money itself. It's the principle of the money. You can be a writer and still be, dirt poor or in the middle class and want higher wages, or you could be in the upper middle class and still want higher wages. That's the difference. It's self-interest. I don't want to say it's irrational self-interest, because that's probably not the best term. That's definitely not the best term to use. But it's selfishness without a self. It's an individual without the individualist. It's being completely enamored within the bounds of your own idealism, and you're not concerned with anyone else, even though you profess it. That's the catch. They profess. If you ask them on the street, anyone holding up those signs, oh, writers on strike, WGA, oh my God. They say, what do you think about, what's going on in Sudan? Oh, it's a horrible tragedy. It's terrible. I can't believe it. And they're still waving their banner, up and down. And you say, oh, what's happening in Ukraine? What about all the soldiers that have died? What about all the civilians who have perished within the last few months and over the course of the year plus? Where is that? Where does that come from? Where does that sense of I'm about me, but I'm also about others? So I can, try to justify and try to manipulate, or, try to get a sense of what I am based on my actions and what I think at the same time. What is it about, I see Houston saying, why don't they send us money? Exactly. They should be sending us money. They should be sending us checks. We have to sit down and watch their whole TV and movie shows. Why don't we get a coin from that? Why does the audience get paid for it? What is it about? What makes them so special that they can't just get a camera, get a crew, pay everybody? You know what it is? It's the government. And I'm not knocking unions. Unions for collective bargaining are an essential essence and an essential part of the economy. If they want to get together and negotiate wages, that's on them. That's their prerogative. They should have every right to do that. But if you come up against the idea that you are somehow better than someone else because you're part of a guild, that's where it gets tricky, because you have so many people. I've just realized from YouTube, they've given out. They've, you know, allowed people to earn, collectively over $30 billion in 1 year. 30 billion. There are people on YouTube making millions of dollars, and all they have is a camera and a light and what they say or do. That's the part that really, eggs me. It brings me to the point where I can't even stomach another day of this strike. It gets me to the point where I can't even think about the different ways that, people have even considered for a moment the thinking of being selfish and selfless at the same time. That's where it gets to be very sloppy. That's where it gets to be very choppy and ugly. Because there's no reason why 11.5 thousand people should be marching in the street for higher wages. It's partly because of the government. Because there are various child labor laws, there are various ways of saying that you're not part of the big picture. They're not part of the big scheme of things. It's like what they say about it's like a joke, you know. You're as useless as a writer on a film set. But there are writers, like my favorite writer, but not my favorite director. My favorite screenwriter, Aaron Sorkin. He goes to the set every day, even if it's to pick up a donut and eat it at the catering, vicinity. He ensures that he does. He takes it upon himself to be engaged in the whole process of making a movie. That's what the key is. And that's what these writers should acknowledge as well. They should acknowledge the fact that they are important. They should acknowledge the fact that they deserve their wages. I'm not knocking that. I'm not knocking anybody for wanting to get more money. That's one thing I'm not trying to knock. What I'm trying to say is how these same people have the same kind of leftist ideals. And there's probably, 11.5, there has to be at least two or three, maybe 200 or 300 out of that bunch who are on the right. You take it how you get it. You get it how you live. That's how they say it in hip hop. Get it how you live. If you can't finesse the system in a way that, people like Tyler Perry, probably the highest paid screenwriter in history, probably the highest paid playwright in history. He has $1 billion. He's written books, plays, screenplays, directed, produced, and he's worth $1 billion now. Is he on strike? Shouldn't he be on strike against the people that are under him that don't really care about him? They don't really, know about what his work is about? Shouldn't he be, holding up a sign for the producers? And I mean that in the Hollywood sense. He should be holding up the sign for, directors. What happened to the DGA? Why isn't the DGA protesting? Why aren't they out there on the front lines? How many protests of the DGA have there been? Directors Guild of America. And that was when, it started. The Writers Guild of America started to try to protect writers. But we've seen, like I said, over the past 3 decades, we've seen, 3 decades plus, we've seen the results of not having a firm grasp of what it means to be a writer. You want to get paid? Go your own way. Do your own thing. Do what it is that you are gifted to do. And I don't mean that in a mystical sense. I mean in the fact that you are talented, that you are worthy of the money that you receive, that this is a legitimate fight. But it just strikes me as odd and weird how the what they call the gatekeepers, the senior vice presidents, the executive vice presidents, the CEOs, the founders, all those people, hardly any of them, I don't think any of them actually have ever been on strike. I'd love to. Please give me. I'll wait. Let me know if these people have gone on strike. Just let me know. Give me a clear indication that one of the producers, somebody that is in the game and may own a production company. You have Spielberg, Katzenberg, and Geffen, SKG. What do they have? DreamWorks. Are they going on strike? I ask you. Just give me an answer. Are they going on strike? Spielberg, Katzenberg, Geffen are billionaires. They have amassed a fortune based off of ideas, based off of their minds. And so is the same with writers. And I think it's a good example. What one of my favorite writers, Walter Mosley, said. He said, writers think they're getting paid, but they're not. It's the directors and the producers. They only think they're getting paid because they just came from working at McDonald's. That's a step up, and that's the truth. That's a fact. That's one of the beauties of Hollywood in the first place. How you can go from working the fries to typing up a manuscript and having it sell for $1.3 million, which isn't a lot of money. Sorry to say. In context, it is a lot of money. Depending on your situation, it is a lot of money. But in relationship to what it is with the amount of thank you. We salute to you, Nomad Nick. I know you're hating hard. I appreciate you. You're one of my viewers, so I appreciate you. I'll get to you in a moment. It's all part of the fact that so many people have taken it upon themselves to say that they're worthy of the money. They are, but at the same time, they're not thinking about anybody else but numero uno, which they should. They should be thinking about themselves. They should be selfish. They should be morally ambitious. That's the way that it should be. They shouldn't be cast down, cast out, diminished. Say, oh, you're just a writer. Even in there's an insult reel on YouTube, and I can't remember the actors in it, but he said, well, you're a writer or something. I'm paraphrasing, but you're just a writer or something like that. It's like an insult to be a writer in Hollywood. there will be no movie unless it's a documentary, and most documentaries are scripted as well with narration. But there will be no movie without a screenplay. There will be no TV show without a screenplay, unless they're riffing and they're going back and forth like Curb Your Enthusiasm. That's a rare occasion, and they still use some notes, to really try to get a grasp, get a good hold on what it is that they're doing. And in the way of showing that they are different from the actors, from the editors, from the choreographers, from the cinematographers, from the gaffers and best boys and dolly grips and all the different people that make up the cast and crew, the people that you see as you're waiting for the last bit of scenery from a Marvel movie, and you watch the literally thousands, if not thousands, at least hundreds of people involved in making those films. You see the sound effects people, the Foley artists, you see the computer animation makers, you see all these different people that get a paycheck. We forget because we don't get to hear or we don't get to see, the top paid Foley artist. What? I don't even care. I don't even know who that is. I don't even care. Oh, the top paid actress. Oh my gosh. And she's not getting paid as much as so and so. She's made $20 million last year, but he made $26 million last year. So is that next? Is that next for anything that goes on in the realm of movies and television? It's like someone has gripped the minds of the populace and has not allowed them to fully understand what it is and what it means to be, and I mean this in the sense of Ayn Rand's philosophy, a producer, somebody who creates, builds, makes. They've lost that idea, or they never found it. They've never discovered the sense that it makes, both CENTS and SENSE, that it makes in order to fulfill a position such as a writer. I'm a writer. I know what it is to be challenged by the screen. I used to get writer's block. Ayn Rand called in the squirms. I don't get those anymore because I just start writing. I just, whatever it could be complete garbage, complete trash. And I can find my way and override all that, the squirms, and continue on with, credible writing. I can't say anything else other than that it's credible. I think for the fact that the creative people, they call them creatives, but what about the producers? Are they not creative? The gatekeepers, the businessmen and women, the suits, as people like to say, derogatory or otherwise, they're all about a dollar. They want to make sure they can make as much money on a picture as possible. Now, that could be a good thing or a bad thing, because they could have all these, and I'm not so knocking them, I'm giving them their proper due, but these Marvel comics and these DC comics movies, that show heroes with capes and bodysuits and utility belts and all kinds of superpowers, and they make billions. So what else are you going to do? I mean, it's not even a question. And that's just the beautiful part about it is. It should be about the fact that there are people who are creative in the productive and the business side, or else we get no TV and we get no movies. That's all for that. Now, another part of my segment on this show is a salute to Mr. Troi Star Torain. This man, I will admit, he put a battery in my back, and I've been running like the Energizer Bunny for a long time now. It's been almost a month, and I've gained thousands of views that I did not have prior to him giving me the impetus, giving me the wherewithal, giving me the power to execute and to project myself with confidence. I already had that. It's like anything that's battery operated. It's already made. It's already in. It just needs that battery in the back. And I will admit, he put the battery in my back. And it's his day. Like Nas, supporters would say, born day, birthday. But I will not disrespect him in saying happy birthday. I'll say salute to you, Mr. Torain. That's what I call him. You might know him as Star, of Star and Buckwild fame, Star and Chamber fame, Star Live in the Morning fame, and the Star Report fame. He's world renowned. He has a complete audience unto itself. Not just black people, not just white people, not just Hispanics, but people all over the globe. There's people in Iceland who know who Star is. There's people in England, and there's people in Africa and Nigeria who know who Star is, or Mr. Torain, as I say. He has developed a system all unto himself. He has his own philosophy, objective hate. And he has crafted something that very few people have done, especially on this YouTube channel, which is revolutionary, which is something that I always say he knows something I don't know. Because I'm like, why isn't he on a TV show? He already explained why he's not on radio. He said he gets inundated with people who want to have him on talking about Drew Hill and Tank and 112, and Craig Mack, but he doesn't want to do old school rap and hip hop and R&B. He doesn't want to go back in time and say how, I remember the good old days. Remember we had it just like this, and that was this, that, what they did, and all that nonsense. He wants to push forward. He wants to push the boundaries. And so when I saw him go on YouTube, I said, This is back in 2009 when he was with Vlad TV, and he had short little clips, just tiny small clips, about 4 to 5, maybe 7 minutes long, given a topic, and he was with his quote unquote brother, Buck Wild, and they just looked like they were having a good time. They were smashing plaques like he's known to do. He was doing a tribute to the late great Michael Jackson. He had in his mind that he was going to do this by himself, for himself, and for a way of, saying that he's self-fulfilling, self-enlightening, and self-defining. That's the kind of person he is. That's the man he is. I respect him for that. We have a business relationship, that's not just, we're not buddy, but I can call him up in the mornings at 5:00 and say, what's up? And say, I have an issue with, what's going on with YouTube and something like that. And he'll clearly and calmly just state, I don't have a wife and kids. I don't have to answer to nobody. I'm all right. He'll just start saying that. And then he'll go into a discussion about how, he took it upon himself to be an actual person, an actual man that is a trailblazer. Is continuing to be a trailblazer. I mean, we can go back to Shot 97 or Hot 97, Flop 97, whatever you want to say. We can go further back. We can go back to, Beat Sweet, MTV. He realized his dreams. He said, I want to look at New York and consider it a giant vagina, and I'm just going to thrust and thrust and thrust. He wanted to maximize his happiness. He wanted to make his American dream come true. He didn't want to just sit around thinking, maybe I could do this. Maybe it could be this way. No, he said, I'm actually going to do it. And I took trial and error. It took failures. It took getting it wrong the first time and then getting it right every time after that. He was inducted to TV One's top radio personalities. He's in the top 20. And he made his own way. He's a self-made man and a self-made soul. I have tremendous respect for him for that. You are witnessing when you see Mr. Torain, when you see him do his bits, do his comedies, but he's not a comedian. You see him when he has his songs, but he's not a rapper. That's the best way you can understand who he is and what he has to offer. He has an arsenal of material. He has said that on various occasions. He's not quitting. He's in his 59th year. He's 59 now. But I'm not going to hold that against him because he's acting like he's 29. He's acting like he's 19. He takes sus 300 shots. I don't know. He used to take, I don't know if he still takes the B vitamin shots. I'm going to be taking those in 5 years with my old self. But that's the key. That's the crux of who Mr. Torain, Troi Star Torain is. He has written, I was going to say you can write a whole book on it, but he wrote the whole book on it. Objective Hate. He detailed his personal life and combined it with philosophy. And he has a list of other books, Objective Hate, The Paradox, and Objective Hate, Infinity. He doesn't plan to release them while he's alive. He was saying that, prior, this is going back almost a little over a decade or even more. He was saying that he's not going to release the books while President Obama is in office. Then he said, I'm not even going to release them probably until, my demise. You got to wait on him, but that's a long wait. He's going to be up until his 90s or 100s and still getting the best women, getting that money, and living his life, just living his truth, living his personal living space, living in his own space, doing what his brain is telling him to do, doing all the things that people are scared and afraid to say or do. But that's what makes him a legend, and more than legend. He's not relevant. He said that on numerous occasions as well. He said that he's a factor, and he will always be a factor within this game because he has paid the cost. He's certified, qualified, and bona fide to be the boss. And he has always been the boss ever since he basically came out the womb. He said, he was running around and telling other little kids what to do, and he didn't care if he was the captain of the team on the hockey squad. He told the next guy what to do and how to, pass the puck and get on defense and know how to assist. He's had a string, I don't know, it's almost too many to imagine, to count, of women friends to have come into his life that are more than friends, I should say. And he has, exhibited a firm sense of who he is as a cisgendered heterosexual man who is focused on being a person of substance and the ultimate man. Now that's self-esteem. As many people who have dogged him, called him all kinds of names, said he wasn't worth it, said he wouldn't make it, all of that, he still had the self-esteem of saying that he was the ultimate man. Beyond Jesus of Nazareth, beyond so many others that come before Muhammad, Moses. He is the ultimate man. He has laid the groundwork and laid a foundation, just like his father, who made complete houses and complete fireplaces and some of the finest, ornamentations you can ever imagine. He took that blueprint, excuse the pun, but made it his own. He stepped into his own manhood, his own adulthood. And credit to his mother, who is still alive. She raised him to be a confident man of color who happens to live in America. He's not a black man, in essence. In front of the cops, when he has, the shields and the badges all over the place on his his wallet, they still may give him a ticket because thinking he's just another run-of-the-mill black man. Here, take this and report before a judge and pay the $100 fee or whatever fine it might be. But that's it. That's all he did and continues to do with his show. I'm respecting him now because I was thinking in my head, like, it should be a roaster star. I'm gonna go out and say, "Oh, you old man, you." But I thought that'd be corny. I thought that would be expected. Maybe next year when he turns 60, that may be something I might do. But I just wanted to give him his just due, not his flowers, because that's the thing I kind of get a little antsy on when people say, "Oh, give him his flowers, give her flowers," while they can still smell them. Well, if you have your whole mystical, imaginative way of looking at life, and you say, they have their flowers, why can't they smell them in heaven or hell or wherever the hell you want to say the mystical, magical, majestic place is? What's stopping them? You have your senses, you have your physical attributes, don't you? You have and it's a soul. It's a soul with physical attributes. You can see the mansions and the golden gates and the streets of gold, and you can do all that. You have your sense of sight. Do you have your sense of smell too? Aren't there flowers in heaven? But I digress. Mr. Torain. Mr. Torain strapped the battery in my back. Because I wasn't looking at my videos like that. I was like, I'm looking for writing. He said, "You're a great writer. Okay, that's great. Wonderful. Good for you. But you need to show your face. And they need to hear your voice." And that's what I'm doing right now. I wouldn't be doing this if it weren't for him. I needed some kind of impetus. I needed some kind of charge. And I admit it, because a lot of people say, "Oh, I don't need a battery in my back to get things done." Like Mr. Torain. He doesn't need anybody to strap a battery into his back. I'm going to admit it myself. I didn't need that. Because at my lowest point for my views, I was at like 2,300. I'm almost to 7,000 right now. Because I took the facts of reality and applied them to my situation. I took his direction. I took his sense of who he is and what he does and made it my own. I know it overlaps in a lot of ways. We both are, objectivists. We both are men of color. We're both from the East Coast. He's from New Jersey. Everybody's from New Jersey. My mom was from New Jersey. My stepmom was from New Jersey. My aunts and uncles on my mom's side are from New Jersey. My grandmother just passed away this year. She's from New Jersey. It goes on and on and on. There's so many people from New Jersey. Meryl Streep, Queen Latifah, Tretch. There's so many New Jerseyans. It's not even funny. It's like, it's such an origin site. Not quite the destination site unless you live in New York, unless you work in New York. and you live in a McMansion, and you just have that kind of sustenance, you have that kind of money power to get one of those, houses on the water or something like that. I digress. Mr. Torain, without this man, I would not be the man I am today. He introduced me to Ayn Rand. And his subtle, super almost dog whistle type of way, because he really doesn't beat you over the head with everything about Ayn Rand. He just slips it in, just says, I come from the school of Ayn Rand. It's called objectivism. And that's all he does. He doesn't, try to force you onto his page. He respects people that have mystical leanings or collectivist leanings or altruist leanings. He knows all those are false and evil, but he gives them the time of day to say what they want on his platform. And that's what makes it a difference too. The fact that he has so many incarnations of what the Star and Buck Wild show was and is and forever will be. He said there will always be a Buck Wild, no matter what he does, no matter what happens. It's the idea that he is concerned with himself. He is a selfish person. And I mean that with all gratitude, honor, and respect. He is a man of himself. He made himself. Nobody had to hold his hand. He has said on some various occasions, no, he never held anybody's creative records. He was never anybody's boy. He was never any hype man or anything like that. He gangstered his way into MTV, into Shot 97, Hot 97, Flop 97, Power 105.1, based on his knowledge. He spent over a decade doing coke. That was a little joke. He was doing coke. He did that before, but that was a long time ago. That's in the past, and his body got sick and tired of being sick and tired. That's the case. But he spent a decade almost with WEA, Warner Electric Atlantic. He spent it with other organizations. And he knew what it meant to have a place within predominantly the music realm. Of course, he has Hollywood actors and writers and artists and other things like that, but the core was the music, and it still is. What he's doing now with his foundation, his nonprofit, which is still a profit spiritually and monetarily to an extent, I would imagine. But the Snitch Network, he wants to save aunties, uncles, cousins, brothers, sisters from random acts of violence and people that claim that sick mentality that I'm not going to say nothing. I'm not going to put out there in the world nothing. I ain't going to say who it was. He put out the Snitch Network to say, hey, we got to stop with these killings of innocent people that make money and are homeowners and want to care for their families. That's what he wants. That's the crown jewel, in his crown. He wants to have a place where people do not have the chance to say that he is afraid. And from what I understand, he's not afraid of anything. Only thing he's afraid of is a broken condom. Another joke. Light roast, very light roast. And he's not one from the knowledge that he spread in over 30 years. So, and you have to remember, the young women, he attracts them. He doesn't go, surfing for young ladies over 22 and up to 29. He's not part of that. He lets them come to him. So it's a whole other situation when it comes to the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Torain, aka Star. He put it simply when he said, I'm not your friend, I'm not your buddy, and I'm not your pal. See, and say, oh, it's all love. It's about love. We got love. Love is a very important and pertinent piece of humanity and of being alive. What hate is negates that. And he is like not a hater in the sense that he hates other people. In fact, he said on occasions, I don't hate anyone. And from what I understand, he doesn't. He may say something vicious, negative, to the point, but it's true. You can't deny it. It may be harsh, but it's the rational truth. He takes the time, he takes the effort to show that he can be someone of substance and the ultimate man. Now, I say to people, I'm the ultimate man. That's only because it came out of the mouth of Mr. Torain. He has brought upon himself to show that it is possible to rise from nothing into something spectacular. Because he was drinking quarter waters and $1.50 sandwiches at one point. And that's all he could do. That's all he had. At one point, he was in Times Square talking to the heathens, the whoremongers. And he was handing out pamphlets for God. An atheist now. But back then, he was on the line of mysticism. He said to whomever could listen to him, whoever was in earshot, who was ever on those radio waves, so many different references, from Rush and Metallica and Slayer, and he was a rock and roller, and he can play the bass guitar. But he put that on a hip hop station. Who does that? I mean, even the Breakfast Club had to put a little grunge at the beginning of their show. Oh, that's cute. Good for you. That was nice. But he was literally playing Slayer. He was playing Yes. He was playing Iron Maiden on a hip hop station. You don't do that. That's something that no one in my recollection and my studies has ever done. They've done that now and since. A lot of people say, okay, Breakfast Club uses Smells Like Teen Spirit. And that's not hip hop. Well, that's because they stole it. They stole it from Mr. Torain. They weren't concerned about that. They wanted to have their own hip hop kind of introduction. It took time. It took effort. It took a lot of cojones on Mr. Torain's part to get to the level where he is now, where he's talking about shopping for a Bentley. Shopping tires for a Bentley. Okay? That's where he is. You can call that, it's a humble brag, and I don't like the word humble, and I don't like humility. You shouldn't be humble or have humility. You should be proud and know your mistakes and know your errors, but be proud of your achievements. That's what will remain. That's what will stay with you. The ability to know and act on your own sense of righteousness. And he said that. A lot, people in the comment section, I remember, said, oh, Star trying to be righteous now. He said, I've always been righteous. Throughout whatever decades, I may have been a P in the streets, for a time period. But now I'm a P as far as these corporations are concerned. I'm getting money either way. They can knock off his YouTube channel and I'll still have pay. They can shut down all of it. And he'll still have the wherewithal to know and to grow, to reap the benefits of his own labor. Isn't that the American dream? The American dream isn't a family of, 2 kids and a wife and a picket fence and you have to pay home ownership and everything like that. That's not the American dream. American dream is whatever you make it to be, whatever you see in your mind and you craft that into cold, hard reality. That's what American dream stands for. And Mr. Torain has attained the American dream. While awake, he must have been sleeping with his eyes open or something because he just never stopped. He started, he wrote for the Source magazine. He wrote for Hip Hop Weekly. He wrote for so many other. He had his own magazine, Around the Way Connections, or Around the Way. He started his own campaigns for promoting these vehicles. And it's all him. That's the beauty. I want to see, of course, there have been people along his journey that have helped him, from Killer Kahim to White Trash Elaine to so many others. Sergeant Hawkins, Miss Info. And he did it by himself, though. Because without him, there wouldn't be. They would have to develop their own shows. His name was still on the marquee throughout this whole entire journey. It's all respect. And like I said, he doesn't hate anyone, especially unless you're Lee Majors or the Sugar Hill Gang. They may be the only exceptions, or some of the only exceptions, But he's like the doctor that diagnosed AIDS. Do you blame him? You blame him for the calamity and the strife and the ugliness and the death and destruction of that virus? Do you blame him for having the fact that human beings are essentially hateful? In essence, do you blame him? He was the one that diagnosed it. He was the one that discovered it or made it plain. Hate has been around for millennia, maybe even more, for millions of years, maybe. But he codified it within his own philosophy. He said that I'm going to make this my own, objective hate. And that's not something that's common. That's not something that's usually purported throughout the culture, no matter where you are in the world. It's all about love. Love your neighbor as thyself. Love your enemies. Love your enemies. Imagine that. It's in the Bible. It's in the quote-unquote good book. And it's a shame because people don't realize the fact that he took the time to express himself fully. And as tribute and as complete respect for the man, I wanted to say that he is one of the leading figures that prompted me to even start a YouTube channel, to even start back up with these videos, and is forever timeless. The fact that he took the time for my dumb self to realize that I could do this too. I appreciate that. And much respect to him for doing that. Now I'm going to get to the various comments. I'm going to say some of the funniest ones and the best ones. Nomad Nick, as always, I appreciate you, sir, no matter what. You said Skyler in here talking to himself with trash internet that keeps stuttering. Put the Mossberg in your mouth and do the Lord's work. Now that is hate. That is beautiful hate that you accept. You have to take that in. You have to realize that the words are just words. They're meaningful because they go in your brain and register. But you just say, all right, that's cute, and keep it pushing. Now this is funny. Look like you're about to start hustling 2 for 10 bean pies with the stream is done. When the stream is done. Bro, no one cares about you. Well, like I said, numbers do lie. That's what cooking the books means. Don't get that confused. Women lie, numbers don't. Women lie, men lie, numbers don't lie. Numbers lie all the time. You know, look what happened to Enron. Their numbers lied. Once again, Nomad Nick, dressed like a civil rights extra that suffered a stroke. That's a good one. The rambling of someone that should be locked up on $150. Not sure what that means. Skyler Saunders pulled out on his men in black fit to talk to people. Houston's asked me if I'm going to write us a story. For the right price, my friend, I'll do it. I might be striking. I might do your TV show. I might strike it. Silent Hassan. Dude high as hell, but making a lot of sense. I get him. Mike Wanpot. Hello, how are you doing? I'm well. How are you? Hope everything is great in your life. Houston. My mama dead. Yeah, you know, mamas be dying. They be dying. Salute to her. She didn't like my baby mamas or nobody when she left here, but love me. I miss her. Salute to that. Tip of my hat. Silent Hassan, right, Saunders. Chris Cager, Torain stole an Asian. I didn't get to that. He had a liver transplant in 2008, I want to say, and he can't. I don't know. This guy can't lose. He was overweight. He was almost obese, and he turned around and had a liver transplant. Lost, maybe 80 to 90, 100 pounds. And he looks fit. He looks like he's going to the gym. He's doing his thing. It's great. What's the link? Let me jump up real quick. The more I stare at you, I come to the conclusion you are his son. And that can't be possible because I have a loving and caring and nurturing father. And I respect the fact that Mr. Torain respects fathers. He had a great father in his life. Very hard man, but caring at the same time. Real talk. Let's go, big man. That's right. Salute to you, Saddam Hussein. Houston saying, I hate all my baby mamas. Black, white, Mexican, Jamaican, or other. Salute to you, Houston. Yes, that is facts. That is true. I'm letting the show run a little bit longer. I'm glad for the viewers. I'm glad for everybody that shares. You can look at my videos. You can look at the fact that You look at the numbers. You can't look at all the analytics. I don't know how to do all that yet. Probably Mr. Torain has shown me how to do that still. But you can look at the numbers on the about page. See how much. I said before it was at 2390, I think, and now blew up. And it shows on the analytics. It's like 1,000+ percent worth of viewers, and 182,000% worth of time spent the analytics of the page. And that's just beautiful. That's what I think is missing in the game, is the fact that we're not linking up as much as we should be. We should be excited. We should be wanting to get up like I did. I didn't even write down anything. I usually write down notes. I usually write down a whole list of whatever I was going to say. I usually say, I'm gonna ride off of this paper and say what I want to say, and have it a mixture. But today I just went no notes. I went all no notes. That's all I did, because I knew in my mind what I wanted to say about the strikers and about Mr. Torain. I knew exactly what I wanted to say. It was percolating in my brain right before I went to sleep, and when I woke up, I just said, "Hey, we got to go in. We got to do this. I don't care if I get 3 views. I gotta let this out. I gotta get this out into the atmosphere." And if you enjoy, if you like it, if you want to subscribe, like, share. And that's because of YouTube. If it weren't for YouTube, I wouldn't care. I just want to get up and speak my piece like I was doing 11 years ago. 11 years ago, I was posting those short clips. You can still find them. My highest one was maybe 512 views to this day. Just over 500 views. And I'm not thankful. I'm thankful to Mr. Torain, but I'm not thankful in the sense of mysticism. I'm grateful, to Mr. Torain as well, because he didn't have to show me the way, but he did. I definitely respect that. So on this day, if you wanna hate harder. That's gonna be. I'm gonna try to trademark that. Hate harder on Mr. Torain for being so old. I'm roasting a little bit right now, but for being up there. But I don't know who it was who said it, but they said it right. They called Dick Clark before his stroke, especially, but and before he died, they called him America's oldest teenager, because he was in tune with the youngest people in the game. It didn't matter if it was Michael Jackson or Britney Spears in their heyday, in their prime. He knew what they were about. He knew what they were. And that's what Mr. Torain is. He's America's oldest teenager. I learned from him more than most people my age know about hip hop. I'm gonna admit that. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't know about Trippie Redd. I wouldn't know about Bali Baby. I wouldn't even know about Nipsey Hussle. I just got to know about Nipsey Hussle before his untimely demise. Just before. And that kind of stuck with me. I was like, wow. And you can argue about so many other things, like why it is such a respect to you, Houston. Let me give you respect, because he just dropped A little something, something on me. I appreciate that. So go in, go hard. If he has a show, right? Whenever his next show is, you say happy belated. Just let him know that he's respected. That is the essence of his character. Respect. You may not like him. You may hate his guts. You may think. You may think, huh, Star Torain. Oh, Troi Star Torain. I can't stand him. But he is a good businessman. But he is a smart man. But he is the ultimate man. And that's what we have to figure and focus on throughout all of this. So I salute Mr. Torain for his efforts. And I appreciate everything he is doing. And I thank you for watching. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this live video. Thank you very much. Take care.